Picture this. You walk into a showroom and see a shiny SUV with a giant screen, 360-degree camera, panoramic sunroof, sensors everywhere, and it costs less than $15,000. Yes, that's less than half of what you'd pay for a similar model from a Japanese or European brand. And you ask yourself the question we've all wondered at some point. Where's the catch? Because in a world where everything good seems expensive, how is it possible that a Chinese car comes with more technology, more design, more gadgets, and is still so much cheaper? Is it because they're using low-quality materials? That they don't invest in safety? Or is there something else? Something you can't see that changes everything? Today, you'll learn why Chinese cars are so incredibly cheap. Let me tell you something up front. It's not just about cheap labor. It's much more complex and much more strategic. To understand this phenomenon, we first have to look at our own distrust. For decades, the label "Made in China" was synonymous with knockoffs, cheap products, and even disposable goods. But times have changed. China is no longer just the world's factory. Now it also designs, innovates, and competes head-to-head with automotive giants like Toyota, Ford, or Volkswagen. What used to be seen as a car for people with a tight budget is now being reconsidered by consumers who would never have thought about brands like BYD, Chery, MG, or Geely before. So, let's go back to the original question. Why are Chinese cars so cheap? And more importantly, how do they manage to keep those prices without seeming like they're sacrificing quality? The first big advantage lies at the foundation: production costs. While in countries like Germany or Japan, a factory worker can earn between $35 and $45 an hour, in China that cost can be less than $5 per hour, and in more remote areas even less. To that, we add two more ingredients: cheap, state-subsidized energy, and direct access to raw materials like lithium, aluminum, or steel, which China either extracts domestically or buys in massive quantities at preferential prices from Africa or South America. The result? A per unit cost that simply can't be matched in the West. But it's not just about wages. China has something that few countries have achieved: a fully integrated production chain. The Chinese model doesn't rely on importing expensive components from Europe or the United States. They manufacture almost everything locally, and they do it in quantities that no other country would dare to match. We're talking about real mass production, Henry Ford style, but with artificial intelligence, robots, and precision logistics. BYD's factory in Shenzhen, for example, is capable of producing almost one car per minute. And that's not an exaggeration. The key concept is economy of scale. A brand like BMW might sell 300,000 units of a model in an entire year. Changan or SAIC can sell that number in just 2 quarters, and only in China. Produce a lot, fast and cheap, but with quality control. That's the formula. When we hear that Chinese cars copy European ones, a lot of people raise an eyebrow. But what if I told you that copying isn't always a bad thing? What if I told you that what we call plagiarism in the West, in China, is seen as collective efficiency? Because here, we're not talking about copying out of laziness. We're talking about copying to optimize lower costs and scale up. Instead of developing engines, transmissions, dashboards, or screens for each model from scratch, they use shared parts across several brands or buy the same components from specialized suppliers. For example, BYD and Chery might use batteries from the same supplier. MG, Geely, and Dongfeng might use the same electrical architecture, and completely different brands can run the same base software, just with different colors and logos. The result? A dramatically lower development and production cost. And, of course, a cheaper car at the dealership. This is where a key difference between East and West comes in. In Europe or the United States, each brand fiercely protects its technology. In China, on the other hand, the industry operates like an interconnected network. Engineers move between companies. Suppliers serve everyone. Factories make cars for 3 or 4 brands at the same time. This model, which many see as chaotic, actually gives them incredible agility. They can launch a new electric model in 6 months, while a European manufacturer takes 2 or 3 years, and that changes everything. On average, a Western manufacturer allocates between 5 and 7% of each car's price to advertising. That means that in a $30,000 vehicle, nearly $2,000 go just to marketing. Brands like Audi, Mercedes, or Chevrolet produce cinematic commercials, buy ad spots during sporting events, hire influencers, and design global brand campaigns. But Chinese brands, especially the younger ones, do the opposite. They hardly spend anything on that. So what do they invest that money in? In improving dashboard technology, adding cameras, sensors, or voice assistants, in batteries with greater range, in giant screens, or premium finishes. All of that for the same price as a Western car that doesn't even come with a rearview camera. China understood something that the West seems to have forgotten. When a product truly amazes people, you don't need to pay for people to talk about it. Buyers who get into an MG or a GAC for the first time record videos, make reviews, compare prices, post on TikTok, and end up becoming unwitting promoters. Have you noticed that traditional commercials sell an emotional promise? The car of your dreams. To go further, conquer the city. Chinese cars get straight to the point. They give you a bigger screen, more battery, more space, more for your money. No poetry, no brand storytelling, just tangible functionality. To manufacture an electric car, you basically need three things: a powerful battery, an intelligent energy management system, and an industrial ecosystem to support it. And guess which country controls all those elements from start to finish? Yes, China. It controls more than 60% of the world's battery production. It has the main lithium, nickel, and cobalt plants, and has developed brands like CATL and BYD, which not only make their own batteries but also sell them to Tesla, Ford, and BMW. While in other countries governments are still debating whether or not to support electric cars, China has been subsidizing their production for over a decade. What does this mean? Tax credits for buyers, direct discounts of thousands of dollars, preferential driving permits, and tax benefits for manufacturers. All of that reduces costs across the board. A Chinese electric car can cost up to 30% less than a European one, even before adding incentives. On top of that, in many cases they have more range, more technology, and better warranties. But it's not just about making the car. They also need roads where it can operate. China has built more than 1 million charging stations in less than 10 years. They have entire cities with electric taxis, electric buses, and electric motorcycles, all synchronized. And now they're bringing that system to Europe, Latin America, and Africa. When a brand like BYD or MG enters a new country, it doesn't come alone. It arrives with its charging system, its app, its maintenance network, and its banking partnerships. While in the West we're still talking about the energy transition, Chinese manufacturers are already exporting that transition ready to use. And the most ironic thing is that they don't even need to make money right now. What they want is to gain ground, win over the market, and secure the future. For years, Chinese cars were viewed with suspicion. They were cheap, yes, but unsafe, fragile, and poorly assembled. That has changed. Today, brands like MG, BYD, NIO, and Lynk & Co. have achieved 5-star European safety certifications. They've even surprised in crash tests where well-known Western brands have fared worse. And not only that, when it comes to design, connectivity, artificial intelligence, and electric range, they're leading the way. In Norway, more than 30% of electric cars sold in 2024 were Chinese. In Spain, the BYD Dolphin is already being sold for under $20,000 with the battery included, beating several European models in both price and range. In Latin America, brands like Changan and Chery are gaining market share every month, pushing out traditional giants who never imagined this scenario. What was unthinkable 10 years ago is now just a statistic. It's no coincidence that Volkswagen has lost more than 20% of its market share in China in just 3 years. Or that Tesla has had to adjust its prices globally because BYD is selling the same thing with more range and for less money. Ford, Renault, General Motors, they're all speeding up their electric strategies because the pressure is real, and it's not coming from the future. It's already here. Chinese cars aren't just competing on price, they're competing on vision. They're no longer just selling vehicles, they're selling connected ecosystems where the car, the battery, the app, the charging station, and the financing all come from the same brand. Well, that's already happening in China. It's just that you haven't noticed yet. So why are Chinese cars so cheap? Yes, they use cheaper labor. Yes, they mass produce. Yes, they share parts and spend less on marketing. But the real hidden reason is this. They're not playing the same game. They're inventing a new one, and the rest of the world is just now starting to read the rules. And remember, the next time you see a Chinese car drive by, don't underestimate it. You might be looking at the future.